It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. We have a lot to cover, so thank you for your patience in this video. Very important update for us as we're tracking these two strong tropical waves that are gradually going to develop. The immediate threat is the flooding for us in the northeastern Caribbean. I want to zoom down to the flood risk, and then as we slide down the road, this area right here could develop as it approaches the Bahamas in the southeast U.S. So I want to take you on time, show you the American model and the European model and what I expect for development. Plus we have Gabrielle, Narda out here. We'll track both of those in this video, and I want to show you the winds within this, plus the high ocean heat content. That is very critical for watching developing systems. So we're watching both of these areas right here. Let me zoom down a little bit closer just to orient you. Here we are in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, anywhere from Anguilla south, right through about Dominica, Martinique, really heavy rains. Now you see these deeper colors, some of the blacks in here and even some of the whites. That is telling me we have really tall cloud tops. If we have really tall clouds, that can hold more tropical moisture and that will lead to flooding. Again, this is not a named system at this point. We do not need a named system to give us that flood potential, and that is exactly what we're going to see in this area and parts of the eastern and northern Caribbean over the next few days. And then we watch out for the possibility of some development. As this area continues to move to the west-northwest, conditions become conducive for some development. All of the models have this developing eventually into a named system. The next name on the list is Umberto. We'll see if it does get a name. The American model eventually has this becoming a hurricane down the road. The European, Canadian, the Icon German model has this area becoming a tropical storm somewhere near the Bahamas and approaching the southeast U.S. Now, with that said, I keep things in perspective on this channel. I do this channel for safety. I appreciate you subscribing to this channel, taking the time to do that, because that does help get the proper word out. With that said, while I do expect some development, it is not a given that it moves right into, say, the United States or the Bahamas. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I want to show you that and show you why as we track this area together in this video. And we'll go model by model and talk about what I'm seeing in the environment. I don't just watch the models. They could be so very off. And one of the things they weren't seeing, and I was trying to highlight yesterday, is that flood threat. The models were not showing how high that flood threat was. That's what I was seeing, this substantial flood threat. And then we wake up this morning and you see those really tall clouds in this area, anywhere from about Haiti and the DR, swinging all the way back through Dominica and Martinique right on the edge. This is the area where we could see some substantial flooding the next few days. Today, tonight into tomorrow, the tropical downpours, mudslides, rivers rising, 150 millimeters of rain or 6 inches of rain. Now here's the deal. It is a bit of a broken area. It's not super organized yet. So with that, we could have one spot drier and another spot getting dumped on. For example, maybe St. Martin, we get dumped on with heavy rain. St. Bart's, we don't get a whole lot, or vice versa. So again, take that with a grain of salt, but some of us are going to get substantial rain. That is my immediate concern, because those rivers are going to be rising depending on your terrain. Watching out for the mudslide potential as this moves in. And you can see here's Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Agana down through St. Croix. Then we swing back through Anguilla, Sebasticia, St. Kitts and Nevis. And you can see how some pockets, maybe not a lot, some a lot. Antigua and Barbuda, a good example. Some of this rain could be right on top of us, or maybe it's just toward the south and east. But you see these brighter colors, the whites, the black showing up. That's 100 to 150 millimeters of rain, or 4 to 6 inches of rain. You can see my concern with the rain. Now we shift to the development, right? And this is what I've been highlighting. Earlier this month, I was mentioning it would be a very active end to the month, and that's where we are right now. It is very active. One of the reasons why was I was seeing systems getting a little bit closer to this, closer to home, where the water temperatures are so very warm. We know that in the Gulf, Caribbean, through the Bahamas, rather untouched. Water temperatures mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit, 30, 31 degrees Celsius. But here's the key. Not only are they very warm across the board, but these areas of high ocean heat content. This is one of the biggest ingredients in the hurricane season. If anything passes over some of these red areas, it could really intensify quickly. And you can see where we are in the northeastern Caribbean. We have some of the yellows and some of the oranges and reds in here. That's why I'm watching for any signs of quicker development than what the models are picking up on. What the heck is this though? It's not only ocean heat content, it's not only warm water at the surface. The high ocean heat content means that warm water goes way down below. So if you get a system kind of moving on top of that, it just churns up more warm water and acts like fuel for these things. And we've seen that the last few years where things kind of rapidly intensify. It's because of this, the high ocean heat content. So know that I'm watching what's going on at the surface and what's going on above our heads. Now, here's a breakdown of the European model and the variations of the European model. So here we are in the Caribbean. Here's high pressure. It's sitting over here a little bit closer to the Azores. That acts like a blocker here. But as we get over here, these areas start to curve a little bit because the blocker's over here, and then we get these fronts near the U.S. The timing and strength of these fronts is key for what happens down the road. Let's go out in time here. This is by Friday. By Friday, the European model is saying, hey, there's some sort of system. Could be named, maybe not, right in this area. And then another area here, this second area is a little bit more likely to curve, a bit more like Gabrielle, at least initially. Know that I'm watching both of these areas carefully for us in the Caribbean, and then points moving forward. Then as we go into the weekend, and this gives you an idea of the uncertainty I mentioned. Because the area hasn't developed yet, it makes the eventual track more uncertain. You could see anywhere, at least this first one, anywhere from the Carolinas or staying over water all the way down through Florida and the Bahamas for the potential of this area to be nearby. And then, of course, watching the Maritimes, the whole Atlantic region of Canada, New England, Cape Cod, just to see where this goes. But there is that chance that I mentioned a minute or two ago that this area, hopefully, even if it does develop, stays right over water, but we'll see. But a closer approach, and then you see this area here getting a bit closer as well, watching Bermuda. Now, generally, you don't get two spots near each other developing for the most part. Usually one kind of takes over, so we'll see which area becomes more of the dominant area. Now, here's the European model, and then I want to show you the American model. Here we are in the Caribbean. We get back through the Gulf. Here's Bermuda. There is Gabrielle. These are the two spots we're watching. So here we are across the Eastern Caribbean, and here are these fronts. If these fronts are strong and speed up, that would keep a lot of this off the east coast of the United States. But if these fronts are slower and weaker, that could allow this area to get closer to the Bahamas and the southeast coast of the U.S. This here is by Thursday. You can see just a sloppy area of rain. Most of the models aren't developing this over the next day or two, but the area does look healthier than what the models are showing. I mentioned the high ocean heat content. So again, if I do see further development, I'll give you another updated video, of course. So watching these two spots on Thursday, again, this is the European model. Then we go out in time here. This is by Friday, starting to show some development near the southern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. And then we have this spot here, which would be north of Antigua, Barbuda, north of Anguilla, but watching Bermuda right there. And then let's go out in time as we work our way into the weekend. This is Saturday into Sunday. The European model has this area starting to lift from the central Bahamas to the north, but strengthening into a tropical storm or a hurricane at this point on Sunday, and then it also has this area back behind it as a hurricane. Two hurricanes, that's what the European model is showing by the time we get into Sunday. So we're only talking about 5 days away. Now, how close this gets, I'm not sure. Again, it depends on that front, right? If this front's a little bit slower, this potential tropical storm or hurricane could move toward the Carolinas or anywhere in the southeast. If it's quicker, it would keep it over water. So that's what I'll be watching and fine-tuning just over the next 24 hours. So parts of the Bahamas, southeast U.S., we may need to go into monitor mode and then potentially in action mode. Right now, we're just all on high alert as we're watching the tropics being very active, and that immediate concern is some of the flooding. Now, here's this spot. Here's the American model. A little bit of a different scenario. It is common for the models to be a bit different because I mentioned this area hasn't developed yet, so it's harder to kind of get a feel on the track. Here's Bermuda, Gabrielle moving away. Here are those two spots, and I'll zoom down into this with the winds as well in just a second. So again, thank you for hanging with me. Then we have these two areas sitting right in here by Thursday, very similar to the European model, to the German model, all of the models out there, watching some of the Google models as well, some of the AI models. Here's that up front. Here's a Bermuda. Now, this model, the American model, does have this making a quicker turn, which can happen. Why does it have it making a quicker turn? Well, it says this front's going to be a little bit quicker, and that may protect the southeast U.S. So that's what we'll be watching. You can see it kind of shifting to the north right here. These two spots could see some additional rain back through the Caribbean as well. But here is that front that we're watching that will gradually work these areas back toward the west, northwest, and then potentially the northwest. So this here is on Saturday, watching both of these areas here. Here's Bermuda, keeping an eye on that. And then as we go on time, lifting this area to the north, much like the European model, there are some differences, but they are very similar in showing some sort of sloppy system, at least a tropical storm right in here, just off the southeast coast of the U.S. by the time we work our way into Sunday and Monday. And then it shows this area back behind it, not a whole lot with that one. So the European model is showing two systems. The American model is kind of showing one. Both are rather close. So again, you get the idea of the overall threat that we're watching. Over the next 24 hours, I'll have a solid handle on how quickly this area will develop and a better handle on where it will go. So I got you covered on this channel. Now, I want to zoom down to some of the rain with it. This is that first spot. Scattered storms ahead of it. I'll show you the winds in a second, but and then we got to get to Gabrielle and Narda. There's a lot to cover. Here's some of the heavier rain tonight, today, tonight, and tomorrow. This is tomorrow morning. There's the rain, and then it kind of shifts a little bit later in the day as we work our way through the day tomorrow. The British and U.S. Virgin Islands, back eventually into Puerto Rico tomorrow night. Some of that rain moving in, but you could see how it's kind of spotty. Where we get it really heavy, that's that flood threat. So I appreciate you spreading the word about that. Then as we work our way into Thursday afternoon, this area starts to lift to the north. We'll be watching the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, and there's some of that rain even getting over toward the Dominican Republic and Haiti. But some of this will be heavy as it starts to move away, and there's that second area back behind it. Now, as far as the winds are concerned, it's not really organized now. So with the rain's the biggest threat. We will get some gustier winds. You can see kilometers an hour and miles per hour on your screen. A lot of the purples showing up. So we're looking at some of the winds gusting over 50 kilometers an hour or over 30 miles per hour. So watching out for some of the gusts. Same thing as we work our way into tomorrow morning. We'll watch out for the heavy rain, some of the gusty winds. Not seeing anything organizing quite yet, but the winds start to get a little more organized as we work our way deeper into tomorrow. You can see almost some of the white showing up. We could get some of the gusts near the British Virgin Islands pushing about 50 miles per hour. That'll be a possibility with some of the wind gusts. And then we should see this area develop further, of course, Thursday, Friday into the weekend. Now, here is Gabrielle right here. Here's the big picture. There's a lot going on the map. Here's that moisture we're watching. The fronts coming through the U.S. This area here, lots of heavier rain. Watching that over toward parts of Missouri and Illinois. And this right here is Narda, so far behaving, staying off the coast of Mexico. There it is. I'll show you the tracks on both of these in just a second. Now, Gabrielle, you can see it here. This is going to work its way toward the Azores. Could be a pretty big wind maker Thursday night into Friday for the Azores. Here comes that front, some heavier rain. Parts of the U.S. Not a whole lot across Canada, but this is the front that'll help draw this area up, and still monitoring Narda off the Baja here. You can see it. It'll be sitting out there for days in the eastern Pacific. And then on Thursday, New England getting some heavier rain. Ontario, Quebec, we could see some of that rain, especially over toward Quebec and eventually New Brunswick. But this is the front that starts to draw this area up to the north. And again, tracking Narda for days and days out in the eastern Pacific. Here's the track on Gabrielle. You can see, as expected, it stayed to the east of Bermuda, but the Azores here, it'll be transitioning from a tropical to a subtropical system. But Thursday night and Friday, especially the northern islands of the Azores, packing a punch. Some of the winds could be around 50 to 60 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour or higher, as that'll be a big wind maker. Here's the coast of Mexico. This is Narda, continuing to make its way toward the west-northwest and eventually a little bit of a curl, but staying, at least as of now, over the open waters of the eastern Pacific. Now, closer look to show you, everyone. These are the two spots we're watching some of the scattered areas of rain. Jamaica, Cuba, Cayman Islands, over toward Cancun, Cozumel, some of that extra rain, and then keeping an eye on this moisture. Southern coast of Mexico back through Guatemala, some additional rain scattered about over the next few days. All eyes on this. This is tomorrow. You can see some of that moisture feeding in. Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, we could get some spotty showers. Heaviest stuff would stay to the north. Then this here is by Thursday. Watching this area in here, bringing some of the extra rain through the northern Caribbean, and then we'll monitor for the potential of development out of this as it continues to lift closer to the Bahamas later this week. Now the seas very high east of Bermuda, but the seas are going to be on the higher side, building as we get back toward the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, north side of Haiti and the DR and Puerto Rico, as we watch both of these areas trying to develop. Even if they don't develop, higher seas and where these go, we'll see some substantial rain out of those. Now watching the rain outlook, kind of scattered about in this sector here. Bahamas, we could get brushed by some of those showers the next few days. 25 millimeters of rain to an inch of rain. We'll see that in parts of Cuba, a little bit more eastern Cuba. Jamaica, we could still get a thunderstorm that gives us quite a punch with some gustier winds, right? We've seen that in spots the last few days. Haiti, the DR, and swinging points off to the east. This is what I was showing you earlier, where we'll have some totals of 100 to about 150 millimeters of rain, or 4 to 6 inches of rain, with that possibility of flooding. Watching that, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, and still on the edge of Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, seeing some of that rain that could be possible. That could give us over 50 millimeters of rain. Not quite as much St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. We're a little bit drier. Suriname, Guyana, northeastern Venezuela. We'll see some of those scattered showers that will be possible. Still some heavier pockets in here. The rain chance has gone down a little bit, but still some of these pockets of some heavier rain. I mentioned Cancun, Cozumel, we could get some spotty showers. Merida, Campeche, southern coast of Mexico, still some bigger totals, upwards of 150 millimeters of rain, or 6 inches of rain for some 3-day rain totals. And then this in through here with that front, you could see some of those higher totals, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain, with a lot of the storms building throughout parts of the southern U.S., back toward the Midwest, even back toward the plains. Very active. So Jamaica, we have a 50% chance of scattered showers and storms the next few days, 30 to 40% chance for us in the Cayman Islands. Rain chance today in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a 30% chance, a 40% chance for tomorrow. Barbados, again, on the edge of some of that rain. Rain chance 60% today and a 50% chance for tomorrow. We do that same thing in St. Lucia. By Thursday, we're down to about a 40% chance. 50% chance today in Grenada, 40% chance for tomorrow. And the next 2 days, a 50% chance St. Vincent the Grenadines, mainly northern sections, northern islands, better chance of some of the rain. Martinique, a 60% chance of some of the rain around today. We get more to the north, a 70% chance. And some of this is for tonight as well. In Dominica, monitoring the flooding as we slide to the north, 70 to 80% chance. Guadeloupe, that continues tonight. High rain chance as well into tomorrow. Antigua, Barbuda, the rain chance is only going to build through the day into tonight, into tomorrow. Remember, though, some islands we may be a little bit drier while others are just getting dumped on. St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, the next 2 days. The rain chance on the higher side as well. Anguilla and St. Bart's by Thursday, that's when it will start to drop off. St. Martin, Save Anastasia, rain chance building in. We'll see some heavier rain in some spots for tonight, and then eventually late tomorrow night into Thursday, we're watching across Puerto Rico. The rain chance builds through the day tomorrow, British and U.S. Virgin Islands. Bahamas, all eyes on what's going on off toward the southeast. 40 to 50% chance of rain in the meantime. Turks and Caicos, limited now, but it will be building by the end of the week as this area gets closer. Building as well on Thursday, a 70% chance in the Dominican Republic. Same thing in Haiti, 50% chance today, but by Thursday, we're up to about a 60 to 70% chance of rain. Scattered areas of rain again in Belize, some of us dry, others seeing some of the rain. Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, we've had a couple passing showers in some spots the last few days, but the rain chance generally stays on the low side. We swing back toward Guyana, you see the rain chance dropping off further, 10 to maybe a 20% chance over the next 2 days in Suriname, a 50% chance of scattered rain in Cuba, favoring eastern sections, better chance of rain, 60 to 70% chance Costa Rica and Panama. The rain chance has gone down some, a 50% chance in Nicaragua, and holding on to a 50% chance the next 3 days as we get over toward Honduras. 80% chance today, Guatemala and El Salvador, but the rain chance will trend down. A 50% chance today in Mexico City, but we'll be up to a 70% chance by tomorrow. 40 to 50% chance, Merida, Campeche, Cancun, Cozumel, Northern Colombia, about a 50% chance, a 50 to 60% chance in northern Venezuela. And we swing back toward Bermuda, mainly dry with Gabrielle sitting off toward the east. So those tropical waves, those two big ones, they could develop In the short term, though, watching the heavier rain, the areas of flooding. Thank you for getting the word out about that. Dangerous rivers and mudslides. And then longer term, watching the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, southeast U.S., keeping an eye on Bermuda just to see if Humberto does develop. Got you covered right here. Thank you for your trust as we go through a really busy time in this hurricane season. I'll be going through your comments throughout the day. Have a good day ahead.